All right, so today I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today our learning objective is that you know what an exponent, a base, and a power is, and that should not be new. I'm just going to re-show us what those are, and that today we're going to start looking at our laws of exponents, and we're going to go through our 0 exponent law and our 1 exponent law and what those mean. So first, let's go ahead and go over our basics of our exponent. So the number here, so in this case, they give us an A. The number attached to the exponent is called our base. And then that number that is subscripted up is our exponent. Your exponent tells you how many times you are multiplying that base by itself. So for example, if I had a base of 3 to the exponent or the power of 3, what that tells me is that I have to multiply that base by itself this many times. So 3 times 3 times 3, that 3 times, well, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So that exponent tells me how many times I'm multiplying that base times itself. And let's look at one more example. So let's say I had a base of 2 and I had it to an exponent of 4. What that tells me is that I'm multiplying that base of 2 times itself 4 times. So if I were to write it out, I have 2 times itself and I have 4 2's because it's 2 times itself. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I know 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 over here is 4. And then multiply our 2 answers. 4 times 4 is 16. So 2 to the power of 4 gives me, I don't know why I wrote 2, 16. So it is read as 2 to the 3rd power, this first example. Base to the exponent and power. So 2 to the power of 3 or 2 to the 3rd power. It tells you, that exponent tells you how many times you are multiplying it by itself, that base times itself. All right, so let's go into our first law. Our first law is the 0 rule, our 0 exponent law. So our example, they give you a to the 0 as 1. What that 0 rule tells us, any number to the 0 power or the exponent of 0 is always 1. So the example they give us is 2 to the 0 is 1, and I always pick the biggest number I can think of in class when I'm showing the kids. I'm like, if I had 2, and this is what I'm going to be able to fit. 1, 200,000. Okay, let's say you had 2,584,189. That's a really big number. The second I put it to the power of 0, it's 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So let's look at some examples. My first example, I have 2 times x to the 0 of 1. What that tells me is that I have 2 times x to the 0 power. Anything to the, I don't know what x is, but I know anything to the power of 0. This could be anything, but because it's to the power of 0 is 1. So I'm left with 2 times 1. Well, 2 times 1 is 2. All right, this time they tell us this entire thing is to the power of 0. It doesn't matter, 4 times whatever. It could be 4 times 5,000,006. Anytime they give me those parentheses and tell me everything in this parentheses to the power of 0, it's going to be 1. So I have something to the power of 0. Doesn't matter what it is. Once I tell you it's to the power of 0, it's 1. Something to the power of 0, again, doesn't matter what it is. I put it to the power of 0, so I know it's going to be 1. Same thing here. We don't know what z is. It could be 5,000,006,000, but once I put it to the 0 power, it's 1. And then 1 plus 1 plus 1 leaves me with 3. 12 to the power of 0, anything to the power of 0 is 1. So let's go ahead and look. Well, we already said 2 to the power times x to the power of 0. Well, we know that is saying 2 times, well, x to the power of 0 is 1. 2 times 1. So we're left with 2 plus, well, y to the power of 0 is 1. So 11 times 1 is 11. And same thing, 8 times z to the power of 0. So 8 times 1, because z to the power of 0 is 1, is just 8. So then I have 2 plus 11 is 13. Plus 9 is 22. And then, again, I just like to emphasize it does not matter what that number is. I've put it to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is just 1. All right, let's go ahead and look at our second law for today. Is the one rule, the law of exponent, the law of 1. So what that tells me is anything to the power of 1 is itself. So when raising to the power of any number, the answer is always 1. So in example A, they say b to the power of 1 is just b. 1 to the power of n is just 1. When raising it to that number, it is simply itself. So if I had 5, 8, 6, 7, 5 to the power of 1, it is still just going to be itself. 5, 8, 6, 7, 5. Because anything to the power of 1 is itself. Let's look at a couple examples for that. So I have 5 to the power of 1. Anything to the power of 1 is itself. So I just have 5. Plus 6 to the power of 1. Anything to the power of 1, just itself. So 6. Plus 12 to the power of 1 is just 12. So 12, because anything to the power of 1 is itself. So then I'm just adding. 5 plus 6 is 11. 11 plus 12 gives me 23. All right, this one I have, and I'm going to write it up and down. 42 to the power of 1 divided by 7 to the power of 1. Well, 42 to the power of 1 is 42. Divided by 7 to the power of 1 is just 7. I know that 6 times 7 gives me 42, so 42 divided by 7 leaves me with 6. I have 5 to the power of 1. Anything to the power of 1 is itself, so I have just 5 times 6 to the power of 1. Anything to the power of 1 again, just 6. 5 times 6 leaves me with 30. All right. And again, I just wanted to emphasize, doesn't matter what it is, 656,789 to the power of 1 is still just going to be itself. 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so our objective was that we know what an exponent, a base, and a power is. Well, we said an exponent is that number that tells our base how many times we're multiplying by itself. So in this example, we have 2 to the third power. The power is the exponent. It's how many times we're multiplying that base times itself. So the base is the number that's being multiplied by itself however many times the exponent tells us to. So our exponent tells you how many times you're multiplying by the base. The base is the number being multiplied by itself, and the power is synonymous to the exponent. I know what the 0 and the 1 exponent laws are. Real quick, we know anything to the power of 1 is itself. And we know that anything, so a to the 1, anything to the power of 1 is itself. And we know that anything to the power, no matter how big, of 0 is 1. All right, so if you're still having trouble with this, please come to our guided practice today. Otherwise, Otherwise, you can go ahead and get started on the practice on this on Schoology. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.